This episode is brought to you by Monk, creators of the most transformative 2 minutes of your day. I've been using Monk Ice Bar for a few months now, and I've got to say, it is a game changer. It's not just about cold, it's about control. 2 minutes in the plunge, and I'm clearer, calmer, and way more focused. What I love is how well built it is. Monk's Ice Bath are self-cleaning with ozone, precision cooled to 3 degrees, and designed to actually look good, whether it's in your home studio or wellness centre. Plus, the Monk app guides you through every plunge safely and effectively, with programs tailored for things like anxiety, muscle recovery, morning activation, even hormone-aware guidance for women. What's interesting is how well it stacks with PEMF and red light. A plunge first to activate the nervous system, then follow with PEMF and red light to support deeper recovery. It's become a daily ritual. Stress the system, then restore it. Monk are on a mission to help more people become wildly resilient and turn stress into strength. You can get 10% off with the code PEMFPOD at discovermonk.com. Highly recommend. And I need to get out of it, it's so cold. If you're using PEMF therapy, you already understand the power of optimizing your body's natural signals to bring your body back to balance. But here's a question most people don't ask. Do you have enough stem cells in circulation available to respond to those signals? Stem cells are our body's natural repair system. They repair every organ and tissue in the body on a daily basis. Stem regen release supports the body's innate repair system by helping release more of your own stem cells from your bone marrow so they're available when your body needs them most. PEMF helps create an environment that supports cellular communication and circulation. Stem regen release helps ensure that there are more stem cells in circulation ready to respond. It's not a drug, it's not an injection, it's a science-backed, nature-powered way to support how your body is designed to repair and renew itself. PEMF sets the signal, stem regen release helps supply the components needed for repair. More of your own stem cells. If you want to support all aspects of repair, head over to stemregen.co and use the code PEMFPOD to get 20% off your next purchase. This offer is only available for US customers. A quick disclaimer before we begin. The PEMF podcast does not contain any medical advice, and the content provided is for informational purposes only. If you have any health concerns, please visit a healthcare professional. Welcome back to the PEMF podcast. Today we're diving into one of the most talked about and often most misunderstood areas that is exploding in health and wellness at the moment, which is grounding, also known as earthing. We're joined by Dr. Gaétan Chevalier, a physicist and researcher who began studying earthing in 2003 at the California Institute for Human Science. He is director of the Earthing Institute, where he has led and contributed to several published studies exploring grounding's potential effects on blood flow, inflammation, the autonomic nervous system, and more. Gaétan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Andy, for having me.
With a background in engineering physics and biomagnetics, Dr. Chevalier brings a technical and scientific lens to a topic that is often discussed in very broad terms. In this episode, we'll break down what grounding actually is, what the research says, how grounding products work, and how it compares or contrasts with PEMF. So let's start with the basics. What is the correct term? Because we often hear it either grounding or earthing. Is there a difference, or are they kind of interchangeable?
So Clint decided to use the word earthing for a person who is grounded, or meaning the person who is in physical contact with the earth. So the term used, for example, in electronics is you're grounding your electronic systems. But in England, apparently, the term earthing is used. And so Clint says maybe we can use this term to differentiate a little bit, especially for the American people, between grounding an electronic system or electrical systems, that power houses, versus grounding a person. So technically, there's no difference. If the context is correct and the person knows what we're talking about, that we're talking about grounding a person, then the word grounding can be used and is often used. For example, we have a Facebook group, and people use grounding all the time, but it is clear that we're talking about, earthing, about the benefits of being in contact with the earth.
Yeah, good. Thank you for that. That's cleared up that debate from start to finish. So, for someone who's never heard of either grounding or earthing, can you just give us, start right at the beginning? What actually is it, and how do you ground?
So basically, we evolve just like other animals in the world. We evolve in contact with the earth. So for millions and millions of years, life on earth has evolved, especially animals have evolved on earth in contact with the earth. And so what happens is that the physiology of especially mammals is more, they are better at that. They evolve a system by which they can use the energy of the earth to protect themselves. So so we evolve in contact with the earth, and because of that, we develop a system that is called the immune system, which take advantage of our contact with the earth. And what is the advantage of being in contact with the earth is the earth is a battery, and it recharges us. A battery has two poles, positive pole and negative pole. Well, the earth is the same. The negative pole is the surface of the earth, and the positive pole is the ionosphere, which is a layer of the atmosphere that protects us against UV light from the sun. But at the same time, it serves as the positive pole of the battery that the earth is. So by touching the earth, we're receiving electrons from the earth, among other things. There's frequencies, and it's more complex, but basically you receive electrons from the earth. These electrons are used to do at least two very, very important things. One is to help the immune system to be in control, because the immune system uses acids, positive charge, to kill bacteria. And then it has to be neutralized. That's what the electrons do. The second one is that our energy, every cell has inside themselves organelles that are called mitochondria. These are very important because they are the energy production of the cells. And so to produce this energy efficiently, they need oxygen that we breathe, but we need also electrons from the earth. So by combining the two, they produce a molecule that is called ATP, adenosine triphosphate, that is actually like the gas for a car. That's where this molecule is used by all the cells to power themselves.
Mm-hmm. And just taking you... Okay. Sorry?
Is that answering correctly your question, or you have more questions?
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. So, you're talking about what it is and effectively how we ground. So just to help with that answer, I'll take you back to my first experience of grounding. Probably not my first actual grounding, because I've been grounding my whole life. But when I was actually aware of it, I was on a trip with a work colleague, and I've always been into my health. But we were driving for like 8 hours, and we stopped at a gas station, or a petrol station as we call it in the UK. And first thing he did was he took his shoes off, he jumped out of the van, and he put his feet on the grass. And we always thought, this colleague was into his complementary health and all that sort of thing. And I thought, oh God, here he is. Here he goes again. His name was Damien. He put his feet on the grass and he walked across the grass, and we're sort of like, what are you doing now? And he then introduced us to, this grounding. And he explained it a little bit like you did, about connecting yourself back to the earth. And for him, his concept of it was putting his feet onto the grass. So my question for you really is, where can you ground? And is it only grass or soil, for example, that you have to connect your feet to effectively get a good ground?
No, not only the grass is very good, especially in the morning when the dew, when it's wet. Being in the ocean is the best way, actually, because you're grounding the whole body. The ocean is salt water, which is conductive. So when you are grounded, in the ocean, all the body receive electrons from all parts. You can walk barefoot on dry soil. And also, since we're talking about conductivity, this is about electrical conductivity. So that's why you can use, for example, a rod planted in the soil, have a copper wire run into your home, and have a conducting grounding mat and put your feet on that. You still get the electrons from the earth, because we're talking about electrical conductivity here, and we're receiving those electrons. So other materials that are conducting normally are, for example, concrete when it's direct in contact with the earth. But asphalt is not conducting. Wood is not conducting. Rubber, plastic, all of these things that we're always, in, like houses made of wood, the cars that are rubber tires, our shoes that are made of rubber and plastic. All of these isolate us from the ground.
No, good. So like, when we talk about PEMF, we talk about energy being delivered via induction. And you've just mentioned that with grounding, it's more about the electrons or the neutrons that are going into the body. But how far into the body do these electrons realistically travel? So you mentioned about jumping in the sea, and it's covering the whole body. And I've heard that, the best way to ground is to, jump in the sea or in a body of water. But if we're just putting our feet onto the ground, are these electrons realistically traveling throughout the whole body, or is it just affecting our feet?
No, it's just traveling all the body. That's why we're designed, we have in the feet, we have more nerve termination per square centimeter than anywhere in the body. Why is that? It's because the feet are made to absorb the electrons from the earth, and then they transfer that into the whole body. And we have several theories for that, but we know that they do because they will, for example, let's say you have inflammation of the knee. So the electrons from the feet will go to the knee and quench inflammation, which we've seen many times. We've done research on that. And it will do the same thing with the whole body. We know that it takes time for the electrons to move up. And so we know that, so there are transport mechanisms. And we have a researcher named James Ushman, who has published about 3 papers with explanation of possible mechanisms, how the electrons are transported in the body. And we know also that they are stored in the body for use later. So we're like, a battery ourselves. We need to be recharged. And it's like our recharging station is the earth. So so we know that we store the electrons, and we've done some experiment for that. I don't know if I need to get into that, but we do know that we store electrons. And James Ushman explained several mechanisms how the electrons can be stored also in the body and distributed. He has something called, the body electrical matrix, where everything is distributed. So it's a very interesting thing that the medical science has not paid in the past attention too much to interstitial tissue, but modern science is taking more and more notice that the interstitial tissue play a vital role into the body working properly. The living matrix, that's how we call it, the living matrix.
Okay.
So you can so those who are interested, you can go on our website, earthinginstitute.net, and find Jim Ushman papers there. And if they want to dive into the explanation of the physiology of how the electrons come in and what the body does with them, he has the most detailed explanations.
And we talk about it quite a lot in this podcast, like, when we're referencing PEMF and grounding, people that are going on holiday, you're spending a lot of time on the beach and you're in the sea. So effectively, you mentioned about, it's like a recharge of the body. And so a lot of people can feel quite relaxed and quite, beneficial when they come back from holiday. And completely the opposite when, we go through the winter months, especially in the UK. We're in our houses, we've got our shoes on, clothes on, in cars all the time. And, people's health takes a bit of a toll. But when it comes back to the grounding, can people actually test if they're grounded properly? Is there some kind of method of testing that somebody is grounded?
Yes, there is. And we have a paper on, again, the research section of the Earthing Institute, where I wrote a paper on how to test if you are grounded. There's two ways. One way is using a multimeter or voltmeter to measure the voltage on your body. Mm-hmm. That's the more precise way, where you can see at which point how well grounded you are. The other one is that companies sell continuity, what they call continuity or product testers, where you can test if you are grounded just by connecting it properly as the manufacturer wants you to do. You put your finger on there, and there's a green light that comes up if you are grounded. This is a very easy way to know if you are grounded or not. So there are two relatively easy ways. Of course, if you buy the continuity tester, it's kind of easy. But the continuity tester itself has to be grounded properly itself, so that you can check if your body is grounded properly. So, yes, it's possible. It's not difficult.
Yeah, no, good. And before we go deeper into the science, what's happening inside the body when someone is actually like earthing or grounding, can you tell us a bit about your background and how you became involved in grounding research? Like it's a strange thing to be involved in, essentially.
Yeah, it's something I've never imagined I would do, actually. Because I have a PhD in engineering physics from the University of Montreal, with specialty in plasma physics and laser spectroscopy. And so I went after I finished my PhD, I went to work for the largest nuclear fusion device in Canada, called the Tokamak de Varennes. Varennes is the city. So I started working in nuclear fusion as a specialist in analyzing the light spectroscopy, so that we can see which elements are in the plasma. That brought me to UCLA. After that, I got a position in UCLA in a lab where we were testing the effect, because you see, the plasma that is generated in nuclear fusion is very, very hot. They're trying to reproduce the nuclear fusion that happens inside the sun. That needs 10 million degrees just to start it. Extremely hot. So that means that nothing can touch that. So they make a donut-shaped device that is, and the plasma is controlled by magnetic fields, so that it doesn't touch nothing. But anything that goes in there, they use very light gas, isotope of hydrogen. Okay, that's what the sun used. It used two isotopes of hydrogen, fused them together, and that gives a lot of energy. So that's what they're trying to do in nuclear fusion. The problem is that it has to be inside this donut-shaped thing, and it have to make certain that it's stable and it's not touching the wall. My specialty was to see the elements that were inside the plasma, so that we don't have, like heavy elements coming from, the wall. If it touched the wall, then it will evaporate immediately, go into the plasma and cool it off. So I was a specialist in analyzing the plasma. So and interestingly, when I was there, I always was interested in yoga and spirituality and different things. And it just happened that one of my colleagues shows me a magazine with an article by a Shinto priest and a PhD researcher in Japan, Dr. Hiroshi Motoyama. And he was talking about how he was trying to study the meridian system, and he has a Faraday cage, and and he had like a lie detector and all of these things. I thought that was interesting. So I wrote in Japan, and they responded that Dr. Mutiyama was coming to America, to actually very close to. I was living in Los Angeles at the time because I was working at UCLA, and he was coming close in Santa Monica. So I met him, and I did not understand exactly what he was talking about. His accent was unfamiliar to me, but I went to him after that, and he told me, I'm starting a school in Encinitas. That's where I am right now. And so I want to do research in that. So would you be interested in teaching, basic physics of electricity and magnetism to my students? So I said, yes, sure. So I started teaching, and then he offered me a full-time position in his school. And that was a leap, a very big leap, right? Because now I'm going from studying, plasma fluids and nuclear fusions, going to study meridian system and chakras. It was like, that was back in 93, and I was like, well, I know it's woo-woo science now or everything, but it's so interesting, so I did it. And so working some years there, then at one day, Clint Ober showed up. I was director of research at the time, and he talked about, it was like 2002, something like that. He talked about the only basic research that was done at the time, which he did with a nurse. And it was just like, paper and pencils things, like psychological tests and tests to monitor how the people feel. And so he made some kind of equipment, grounding equipment that people, and people slept grounded. And he found out that they were sleeping better, they had more energy, they had better concentration, all that stuff. And I was watching that, and I said, just by I was skeptical. I must say, I said, just by touching the ground, you have all these benefits. I thought, well, it would have been discovered 100 years ago if it was true. Actually, later I found out that it was discovered in Germany, but that's another story. So at the time, I didn't pay attention. I did nothing. And but one of the associates of Clint Ober came to me and said, we would like, we're to pay for a research project that you would do to show that earthing really does something. And I said, fine. So we did a research project, and we got good results. The grounding people, their stress went down, the muscle tension relaxed. They felt, more positive, and we had a bunch of positive reaction. I was still a bit skeptical because the system we were using was grounded itself. And when I was doing my PhD, we had tons of equipment, and if they were grounding by different place, it wouldn't work. It has all to be grounded at one point. They were so sensitive. So I was just wondering if there's not a ground loop there that would make it look like, we had good results. So sometime later, we did replicate the same study with equipment that was not grounded, battery powered, and we got really good results. Two of my friends participated who had really real problems with arthritis in the hands. They got good results. So it took about 2 years, but then I got convinced. But once I'm convinced, it's the opposite. I'm really hard to not convinced to go back. So since then, I've been doing more research projects. It's been more and more often for all kind of conditions. It's pretty amazing. We have hundreds of testimonials now of all kind of conditions, but you see they're all inflammation based, and earthing kills inflammation. So now we have more explanation, understanding better, why it's so effective for so many different diseases.
Oh, and we thank you for doing that research way back then, when it's very, very woo-woo or pseudoscience, it's but it's great that, people are able to get hold of this and actually show the scientific benefits of it. So, it's amazing work. We've got a little bit of a quickfire section that we do on this podcast. So what I'll do is I'll ask you some quickfire questions, and then you just give us a short answer. And then at the end, we'll kind of take a deeper dive into those, okay?
Okay.
So I'll ask those for you quickly. What's better, grounding on soil or grounding on sheets?
Always soil is best.
What is the biggest benefits of grounding?
I would say quenching inflammation.
Can you only ground on soil on grass?
No, you can, no. We'll explain later. No.
Yeah. Do grounding bed sheets work?
Yes. Again, they're with more explanation.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, don't worry. How long does someone need to be grounded to see measurable changes?
At least 30 minutes.
Does grounding protect against Wi-Fi or 5G exposure?
Not directly. No, not directly. But again, I have some explanations.
Is grounding beneficial for everybody?
Yes.
Biggest misconception about grounding?
Is that you cannot ground when you are inside a house because you have all these EMF that you will attract and will go through you and get to the ground and you'll be zapped. Worst misconception ever.
Cool. All right, we'll expand on those anyway.
Yeah.
So just talking about a little bit about the science again. So in your blood viscosity research, what exactly changed when participants were grounded?
So what really changed and changed actually the blood viscosity is the electric charge on the red blood cells. Well, so what we found is that by grounding people, the red blood cells become negatively charged, much more than they are normal, and they are when people are not grounded. I'm not saying normally. I retract that word because the normal is to be grounded, but today we reverse that. But
yeah, it's a new normal.
Yeah. So because they have this increased charge, which are electrons, like more electrons, they repel each other now. And they are distributed into the blood and not clumped together like they are in most people because they don't have enough charge. You see, I don't know if I should go in there, but you'll stop me if I'm going too technical. But you see, blood is a liquid with floating particles in there, okay? And just like milk, for example, or to give you an example. And these particles floats inside because there is an electric charge inside, like the milk, for example. If you put an acid into milk, okay, it's a colloidal solution. So colloidal solutions are solutions with particles that are transported inside. The milk is the same. If you put acid into milk, you will see that there will be a formation of, a coagulation of some particle and some things, and that is what later will become cheese or become. Some people use that, and so there's a whole field called rheology where they manipulate the particles inside, fluids. Like, for example, sewer, where the cities have a big system that is based on this knowledge to control and get rid of all the bad stuff in the water. But the blood is the same. It needs to have electric charge on the red blood cells so that they repel each other. And the blood is more like Dr. Sinatra said, more like wine, not like, like ketchup. And that has an implication to the entire cardiovascular system. But imagine that your heart has to push through the system something at the consistency of ketchup. It's going to tire. You're going to have your heart problems, heart attacks, and all kind of things like that. But so it's very important to have a blood that has very thin, so that the heart can pump really easily, the blood through the body.
Yeah, and for those avid listeners of the podcast, just to summarize that, we often talk about blood viscosity and the thick clumpiness of the blood, which you've just been describing. When you apply a PEMF device, you can see the cells under a dark field microscope separating that gives you thinner blood. It's able to carry more oxygen. It's better for reducing inflammation, that sort of thing. So these are the similar effects that were happening with grounding and that you were seeing in your research. But there's something else that we found when we're researching for this episode called zeta potential. Can you kind of just in simple terms explain what that is?
The zeta potential?
That's the one.
Okay, the zeta potential is actually see, when you have charge accumulating some place, you have also a potential that is built up in an electric potential. Like, for example, in our home, well, at least in America, I think in England is different, but the electric potential is 120 volts. That's kind of like the energy that there is in there. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 240 volts in England, isn't it?
Yeah.
So similarly, the zeta potential is in volt. Also, is a measure of how much energy that the cell, electrical energy that the cell has. So the more electrons, the more, of course, electrical energy. And the zeta potential then is a way that is used in rheology to measure objectively and easily how much charge there is. So it's not, I cannot go, and I don't have like small electrodes going right there and measure one blood cell and say how much charge there is on there. I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I can put in electric field and see how the red blood cell move in the electric field, and from that I can deduct how much electrons are on the cells. That's what I did in one of the paper.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there's an equation that has been developed by researchers for that. So I can measure the zeta potential, but I cannot go and say, okay, you see how small the red blood cells are. It's impossible. So that's one way to measure indirectly the electric charge on the red blood cells.
Oh, good. Okay. And when it comes to the inflammatory markers, have they actually been measured? And were these like acute or chronic changes to the markers?
Yes. So inflammation markers, yes, we use several in our research. C-reactive protein is one of the best one. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But interleukin 6 and TNF alpha, there's many of them. And we use them in our paper to measure the difference in inflammation, in the body. If you are interested, we did research with massage therapists to see how grounding, because massage therapists wears out very quickly. I mean, they have to be very cautious. Most massage therapists, if they do too many things and it happens to 20 people per day, they just burn out within typically 5 years. So in the center we were going, there were an MD that was on there to watch the massage therapist and said, you haven't worked enough today, you have to go home. So what we found is that by being grounded, the massage therapists were able to work on twice as many people without being tired as much. So because I think what happens is that when you do massage on people, you absorb negative energy, people. So if you do your massage when you're grounded, it makes a big difference. And that's what we have papers on that. It shows that.
And how would someone do that? Because that's quite interesting. Would they put like a grounding sheet across the floor that they're working around? Like, I'm just trying to envision someone with a massage table, shoes off, grounding sheet.
So the easiest, there's two ways. One way is to have a grounding mat on the table and have the patients on touching that grounding mat. So the patient is grounded, and then when the massage therapist does manipulations, then the massage therapist gets grounded itself, especially. So we need also best ways actually to also use a grounding mat on the floor. In the project that we have done, we had people, massage therapists, barefoot on large grounding mats like similar to ESD mat, electrostatic discharge mat industry. There's a whole industry of mats to
That's cool. I like that.
help workers in the electricity, not to zap their electrical circuits and stuff like that, so to discharge their static electricity. So yeah, there's a lot of mats out there that are used, and they're pretty, how can I say that, they can last pretty long. Where the problem comes is in the bed sheets, and these are where what was found is that these they use silver threads inside the sheets, and these wear out within a year. So that's why you still have companies selling that, but less and less. And I know Clint Over personally, the person who started the earthing craze that we're in right now. And he himself started having, sheets like this. And I still have some, but they don't last very long. So now he's coming up with a new sheet soon at earthing.com, where they tested it for a long period of time, and they washed them a lot. And it's the washing that actually destroy the sheet. So they said that it will last much longer. So we'll see. But for the moment, personally, myself, I use a grounding mat in my made for. I have a king size bed, so made for king size, and I have a sheet on top of that. One of the at one time there were some sheets that were conducting that were not like the normal bed sheets. They were made to work with mats, and they were more sensitive. So I use some of them, and I check all the time with the continuity tester if I'm grounded or not. Because at some point, if they're not grounding, I'm gonna get some more or do something different. I just cannot sleep directly on the rubber-like structure,
Yeah, sure.
That. So, but the other thing is that if you use a cotton sheet, if it's thin and your bare skin is touching that cotton sheet, after about 10-15 minutes, if you use the detector, you will find that you are grounded, because we perspire. We don't think we do, but we do perspire every night, almost everybody. I don't, if it's not normal, if you don't do.
No. So we'll come on to the products and the sheets and the earthing products like in a couple of minutes. I just want a couple more questions on the kind of science behind it. With your research, you mentioned before about like half an hour before there was changes that were actually measured. So how long generally are participants in the research grounded before changes were actually seen?
Well, that's why we say 30 minutes, because we tested, in a research project with lots of equipment, what changes happen that would signify a change in metabolism function of the body. And so we found out that it takes about 30 minutes. For example, if you have inflammation in the body, someplace like inflammation of, I don't know, elbow or something. So it may take up to about 30 minutes for the inflammation to really go away, especially acute inflammation. We've done research mainly with knees. Lots of people have knees problem, inflammation of the knees. And so we took some of the people, we ground them, and we found out that it takes about 30 minutes for the inflammation to go away. Then we have another project where we did all these physiological measurements. We measure skin conductance, we measure heart rate variability, we measure a bunch of stuff. And we found that it changed also blood oxygenation, all of these things. They change within about 30 minutes on most people.
So a lot of like specifically biohackers or health optimizers, they will, put 10 minutes, 20 minutes aside to go downstairs in the morning. They'll go out to the grass. They put their feet on the grass. They get morning light. Is that 10 minutes of grounding going to be too beneficial? Or
it will be beneficial because some electrons were coming in. but you will not measure physiological changes yet. It's not enough electrons coming in. But
Okay.
you have the benefits. If you do that like 20 times a day, you're still gonna be really probably okay. We haven't tested
Mm.
that actually, by the way, but 20 minutes, a lot of people respond in 20 minutes. Not
Yeah.
everybody, but if you're a pretty healthy person, your body will
Mm.
respond in 20 minutes. So if you have a biohacker, for example, and you're already pretty relatively healthy, your 20 minutes might be
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, we're in the UK, so 10 minutes is quite a long time for us in sub-zero temperatures or rain.
Yeah.
So we've got to find new ways to ground, which we'll come to. Cortisol is a quite hot topic at the moment. Have you seen any patterns in cortisol reduction
Yes.
improving or anything like that with grounding?
Yes, we have actually a research project that was done, one of the first one in 2004 by Dr. Galley, who showed that you don't have increase or decrease. At first, if you look at increase and decrease, it looks like, this make no sense. But what we found is that what happens when a person is grounded is the secretion of cortisol gets synchronized with the rhythms of the day. So it gets
Mm-hmm.
back to the normal. You'll have more at the period you need more, and you have less in the period that you need less. And if for those who are interested, you can more detail. You can look at the paper by Dr. Galley and Tiplitz there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a normalization. So people have difficulty sleeping because they don't have the right level at the right moment because the stress is too high and all of these things. We found everything calms the autonomic nervous system. It calms the body right there within a second. The body says, "Oh, there's a big difference happen." It's
Yeah.
amazing the difference between the body when we're grounded and not grounded, because we've seen that when people living in ungrounded states, their body's under tension and they don't know that because they live like that all their lives. But when the body gets grounded, within a second or two, there's a relaxation of the entire body. Okay, the physiology changed completely. An example: when a person is not grounded, we measure the tension in the muscle, for example, trapezius muscle. Tension on most people is high. Some of them are so depleted in energy that it's low. It's not the proper tension, and it
Mm-hmm.
stays there. When people are grounded, the tension normalizes, and we see something amazing is that the muscle contracts and relax every 40 seconds, very, very slowly. That's the way the autonomic nervous system determines the tension in the muscles. But when we
Yeah.
are not grounded, it gives up on that. Oh, we are in a stress mode, so we can't do that. We're busy preserving the function of the internal organs. This function gets away. Another thing also is the control of the circulation of blood in the face. So when people are grounded, their face get more blood, and so it helps repair the skin and look. Again, we found some kind of a cycle in the blood, like about 40 seconds. Again, more blood, less blood. It's like the body now is sensing and controlling how much blood is needed where. This function is given up.
It's good points to make because we say the same thing with PMF. Like, so where we talked about this question at the beginning was about cortisol and how grounding can help lower cortisol, but actually someone might say, oh well, I have a significantly low cortisol, so I can't ground or I can't use PMF. But actually it's all about regulation. It's all about getting the body processing cortisol or things correctly. So again, with thin blood, it's not like grounding or PMF is going to even further thin the blood. It's going to help regulate the blood. So it's a good point to make. One more thing on the kind of science behind it and the benefits of grounding is there evidence that exists that grounding reduces pain? It's something that we kind of get a question from quite a lot. Is there kind of studies or evidence based to back the pain theory up?
Yes, we have studies where people were induced some kind of muscle injury, It was done by a researcher specializing in sports research. And what he found is that he had a way to do some damage, minor damage to the calf muscles, by having people doing certain exercise. And so we were able to measure, like, for example, when there is damage of the muscles, there is a special protein molecule that is released that we can see that there's more damage. What we found is first is the people who are grounded have less damage to their muscle, and also what they did is they put a cuff around the muscle and increase the pressure. What they found is that the people who were grounded were able to support better pain than a higher level of pressure and pain than people who are not grounded. The second, another project that was done by Clint at the beginning is that one of the questions is that about how is your pain? And people were saying, that they were much less pain. The pain goes down or disappear completely when you're grounded, especially acute inflammatory pain. These responses, you put a patch. The patch are really amazing because the patches are the best way to ground locally because they have a conducting gel in there, and it's a very low resistance. Lots of electrons coming really easily. So if you have an elbow inflammation, put a patch there. Within 5 minutes, it goes away. There's been a research done, and it's on our website also, on cyclists of the Tour de France. And there was a chiropractor who was using earthing to help the people get healed faster with injury. There was one of the cyclists who got an injury of the arm because there was a car and the car stopped and bumped into the car and got an injury of the glass. And the doctor said he's out. And the chiropractor said, give me 24 hours. I think I can bring him back. And he put patches all around. Have the person, the guy, sleep all night within a sheet. It was plus having all the patches all around. Within 24 hours, there was an amazing healing. And the doctor said, okay, I'll let him go. So he was able to continue. This is in the earthing book, actually. We also have more detail on that because his name and audio videos from Jeff Spencer, who was the chiropractor who was using that. So yes, there's a lot of evidence that pain is decreased. We have also many testimonials of people with pain. One is very that Clint sent me to at one point, that the person was so much in pain, and she said, I don't know how long more I can live like this. And so then I found earthing. I tried everything. I found earthing. The pain goes away so much that now I have my life back. So, and Clint said to me, this is what I'm doing. Because Clint has all the money he needs. He doesn't need this to live. He does that to help the people.
No, we mentioned that a lot on this podcast, is the feeling you get from those sorts of responses and from customer feedback. It's always a benefit, in terms of being in business, but also the, what we're doing to help a lot of people, especially when they're in pain.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, we touched on it a little bit earlier, but let's talk about grounding products, because, now we've kind of know what grounding is and the science behind it. How can we implement grounding into our lives? So, it's getting more and more popular at the moment, and what's actually in these sheets that make them a grounding product, and does that differ? Are they different materials? Because I've been approached a couple of times with a couple of different grounding companies saying, "Oh, we use this material because it's better." Is there a variation, and what's your opinions the best?
Okay, first I want to do a disclaimer because. The Earthing Institute does not sell any earthing products to ground you. Okay, we have a certification course that we sell for people who want to know more, and the first level is about all the products, but we don't sell the products. What the confusion comes because there's a company on Amazon who sell the product, a Chinese company who sells products under the name The Earthing Institute. That's not us.
Okay.
So
All
disclaimer, because I get that a lot. Now, the products, there's various different products. There's at least 100 companies selling earthing products right now. So there are various methods. One of the methods, like for example, for the mats, like the letter type mats, most of the company, what they do is they take it's called polyethylene, and they put carbon fibers in there. The carbon fibers are conducting and make it this material, which is normally not conducting, make it conducting. You have the sheets also that are have, like I said, silver threads that are weaved in there. They're still sold. The problem, there's two problems with them. Is one, when you wash them, they wear out the detergent. You have to be careful not to use hot water, not to use some strong, products to wash, like soft soap. No, and now I'm blocking out the name. That people go put in there. So don't put any strong detergent or things like that.
Right. Yeah.
No hot water. It lasts longer. The other part is that people sweat, and the sweat has salts in them, and it's also, so by still with that, it's gonna has an effect on the silver. Some other people have used other materials. I've seen some people making some kind of mats out of copper. Some other using stainless steel. But they're not very. They're on the market. You can find them. I'm using a soft tissue thing for the night, to ground my head sometimes. Or like, for example, you can see also bed pillowcase made of a silvery material.
Yeah.
I have not tested it. I don't know how long that they last.
And do you have to have direct skin contact to the bed sheets, for example? Is that important, or can you wear, people wear gym jams to bed, or can you put a sheet over the top?
You can put a sheet made of natural material like cotton or.
Okay, so it's important to use a cotton sheet.
Cotton sheet or bamboo. It has to be thin, and as I said, be patient. It will take 10 to 15 minutes for the grounding to happen, but it will happen sometime in 5 minutes. There's a video by a doctor who showed that by putting his hand on a sheet like this and measuring the grounding happened within 5 minutes, just putting his hand there. So it does happen. Okay. If you have a pajama or a thicker thing, it might likely not happen. But all you need is you have one part of your body touching. You can have a pajama all over.
Yeah, makes sense.
But have like part of the legs that have the skin touching, the grounding sheet, and you're grounded. And because you're grounded 8 hours, the electrons will go everywhere.
Yeah, sure. We see two different types as well. Most commonly, you've got the ones that kind of like you dangle out the window on a rope and stick it into the ground. So like a rod that sticks into the ground that's connected to it. Yeah. Or you have the ones that you plug into the wall outlet. Yeah. So in your opinion, is one better than the other? Well,
first is that the same products themselves can be used either way. Okay? They're the same connector and thing. Now, using the ground outside avoids some problems that are possible. Personally, because I know what I'm doing, I'm grounding to the grounding system of the house. And I've been doing that for at least 15 years, no problem. So it works, but you have to have a few things, especially in the US. And I'm not sure if it's true in the UK, but in the US, uh, the so they added in the late 60s, they added a grounding system because people were electrocuted. So now every appliance, especially in the kitchen, especially like a toaster, for example, they have a grounding wire because a third grounding, a grounding prong, because of to protect against that. When I was young, there was only two slit, and then you put the things that was not grounding.
Mm-hmm.
But now they do have the grounding system. It's a very good grounding system by itself because they have several rods that are inside the ground and everything.
Mm-hmm.
The problems happen when first is that in the US, for security reasons, the neutral. So when the power comes in, there's a wire that delivers the power in, and then it returns out to the electrical station. So you have that's why we always have two pins or two wire. One is coming in, the energy coming in, coming out. So the coming in is the live wire, coming out is the neutral. We call that the neutral wire.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you have a third wire now that is technically totally separate from the other two. They don't touch, they don't, and it's a grounding system. The only thing happened in the US is that they connect the grounding and neutral at the entrance of the power grid, the panel where the electricity comes. So what that creates but then you have a good ground, so that brings the potential very low. But what it does, it keeps the potential on the grounding wire very small, like half a volt or 0.1 volt. It's not a problem. I've done that for a long time. But people who are electro-hypersensitive, they will sense that little voltage, even though it's not dangerous and everything. It's annoying as they feel a buzz. So for these people, they cannot at all use the grounding system of house, at least in the US. I don't know if it's the same in England. I have not checked. So these people need a grounding rod outside. For me, it's not a problem, for relatively healthy people. Even if people who are not so healthy, but they're not electro-hypersensitive, they will benefit for being grounded in the house. But sometimes also what they do is that the electrician, or when they build a house, they connect the grounding wire and the neutral at many places. Then that makes the grounding system. It's still grounding, but there's too much voltage on it. It's not healthy.
Yeah. So
you should not use that. So that's the problem that people are in. That's why some people feel a buzz and things like that, because their system in their house, the grounding system, is not connected properly. If it's most of the modern house, let's say built after year 2000, are pretty much done correctly. But even then, there might be a problem. It's if you know a bit of electricity, it's easy to check if your system works. Because first,
I was going to ask you that actually. That was the next question.
First, the most of the companies sell a little device that you plug in to see if you have a good ground. So that's the company that Clint Ober has gave that to everybody. But then what you have to check yourself is to check how much voltage there is on the grounding wire. And to do that is very easy. You use a ground rod outside, okay? That's your good ground. It's a good ground. It's right there.
Yeah.
And then you're using that of the ground, and then you put your meter into volt AC, and then you plug the red lead into the grounding hole, okay? And then if you read a voltage that is more than 1 volt, 2 volts maximum, then don't use it. It's because there's something wrong with the system. So it's relatively easy to do if you know how to use a voltmeter.
No, good. That was a great expression I was going to ask you, because
if you check these two things and they're good, you're fine. Unless you are, as I said, electro-hypersensitive.
I've used this device before, like an EMF detector, and you can put it onto like radio frequencies, and you can put it onto electric frequencies, and you can put that. We see a lot of people walking around their house detecting high frequency EMFs, and if you put it on a grounding sheet, it should show 0. Is that another way of testing it, or is it not as accurate?
Not. It's not a very good way of testing if your sheet is grounded or not, because we have EMF, yes, inside the house, and what people using those devices that measure EMF, that's another misconception, by the way, that I'm going to talk about, is that they measure the EMF around, let's say they take a small grounding mat, they measure the EMF around it when it's not grounded. It's certain X, whatever. Okay? It's similar to everywhere. But when they ground it, there's more there. And they say, oh my gosh, it's attracting EMF to the mat, and that's very bad. No, that's not what happens. That's not at all what happens. What happens is when the mat is grounded, it becomes one with the earth and the same potential of the earth. So now the EMF that comes to it are reflected. So of course, if you have a mirror and it reflects, you're going to have more there. It's not because you're attracting them. It's because it's the opposite. You're repelling it better. The same thing, the body. You do the same thing in the body. People use an EMF meter, and that's exactly where this misconception comes. You ground the person is, there's more EMF around the person. That means the person attracts EMF, and now they're going to be zapped. No, it's the opposite. The body now becomes better at repulsing EMF because it's grounded. It's the exact opposite. So I'm sorry.
No, good.
I'm getting it.
No, it's good. So we've talked about the products.
What?
Yeah, we've talked about the products,
Yes.
as in like the grounding sheets and things. So just to wrap this section up, if you have a good ground in your house and you've got a grounding sheet on your bed, what do you think is the best option, this or going outside and grounding?
Well, for the convenience for myself, I like very much sleeping grounded because I do that. And even if the grounding, is because the mats are not as conducting as the earth itself. So you still more time to get the electrons in, but it's still working very well. Within 30 minutes on a mat, we found that you still have enough electrons to quench inflammation. But what I like is that I don't have to worry about it for the rest of the day. I just sleep grounded. That's it. I have enough electrons, and you do that every night. You build up electrons. You get less and less sensitive to electromagnetic field, and that's the lazy guy way of doing it. But
no, I like that.
But I'm at my computer now. I do have using a grounding mat as a mouse pad so that my hands are grounded. I found benefits of being grounded while I'm at the computer. For some reason, when I'm at computer, I get tired less quickly. I have more energy, last longer. I can work longer on my computer without being tired if I am grounded at my computer, even though I ground myself at night, every night. So I still do that. I have one for my feet also. I mean, I can get all of them, there's no problem. I have no problem with supply. So, but it's a nice way of doing it.
And it's important, if we compare apples with apples, laying on a grounding mat compared to laying in the grass for an hour or something, we might say that laying in the grass in an hour is better. But practically, it's just not going to happen. And it's the same thing that happens in the PEMF industry. I'm from Canada
originally. I can totally sympathize with, the weather that you're not going to go out and barefoot in the winter. I mean, in Montreal, we had temperatures sometimes minus 35, If you put a feet out, it's frozen in a second.
Yeah, exactly. You get frostbite instead. That's not good for health.
You lose your toes within a minute.
Yeah. So it's important, like you say, a lot of the time it's kind of bringing these natural things back into your world, and letting them fit into your routine is always the thing that you should look at first.
Yeah, because it has to be done every day.
Yeah,
every
exactly.
Day. It's like it's like eating. you can go a few days without eating, especially like if you're grounded a lot and you travel and you're not grounded a little bit, that's okay. But I still bring a mat to ground myself. But you build some kind of a reservoir of electron inside yourself so that if you're grounded regularly, just like when you eat, you build some energy inside yourself. You can go a few weeks without eating, but at some point, something's going to give.
And I just want to cover some kind of myths and misconceptions when it comes to grounding, and kind of bring in the PEMF as well. So we get a lot of people asking us whether PEMF and grounding are the same thing, mainly because there's influencers out there that kind of call PEMF mats grounding mats a lot of the time. Are they the same? And are you grounding when you're using a PEMF device, in your opinion?
Okay. No, they're not the same. They're very different because PEMF, like the name says, pulse electromagnetic fields. There's no electrons. It's about pulse electromagnetic fields. So what it does is that by receiving those pulse electromagnetic fields, it creates a current it creates an electric field inside your body, which move charges. So that's why, for example, you can have pain in an elbow, and you put the PEMF there, it's going to go away because it's distributing the positive charge. It's not canceling them. So that's why I personally think that the best combination is PEMF plus grounding. And I've tried that, and it's the best. Because now you're neutralizing. You're helping the electrons coming in. Now, what happens normally in 30 minutes, with a PEMF can happen in 5 or 10 minutes because it helps the electrons moving. So, no, they are synergistic, but they are different. They work from different mechanisms. Although earthing has also some frequencies because you absorb also the frequencies of the earth. That's why, for example, I'm in California, I go to see you, I'm going to have jet lag because you're in England. But I can prevent that by putting my feet on the earth for 30 minutes. My body not only gets electrons, it gets the vibrations of the soil. And it tells me, my body will know, now it's 2 p.m. here. Okay, I'm fine. Reassessing, reorganizing the clocks inside so that we're in sync with the time. We've seen that over and over.
No, good. And you mentioned there about using PEMF and grounding. When you say that, are you saying about using PEMF then grounding then PEMF, or actually using them at the same time?
Same time.
Okay.
Same time is best.
And how would you apply that? So you'd use a PEMF device like a localized device and then maybe ground your feet, or is there practical applications you've done that you can help the audience with?
For me, my experience is using a PEMF mat, which is like, have this ground loop that goes around the entire body. Plus, I was grounded at the same time. And it was very, very nice. So I have not used the localized PEMF device. I use only the mat with the long one, and it works on the entire body. So that was really, really nice. So, if you have pain somewhere and you want fast relief, the patches are the best to use. But if you have a localized PEMF that you can use also, you can also use that. So you put the patch there, you put the PEMF close by, and it will work fast, very fast. But you see, because the electrons are coming right in, you won't see that much big difference. So the whole body thing is really, I think, where the combination of the two is probably the most beneficial.
Yeah, no, perfect. And, we mentioned on this podcast when we've talked about grounding and PEMF before that, you can get quicker results with PEMF therapy or just quicker responses, than doing grounding for, like you say, like half an hour. So people, busy lives, or bringing grounding in the house, it's not grounding, but doing alternatives is a good way to, fit into a busy life.
I have another idea. So let's say that you just have a sleeping mat in your bed, and you don't have anything other. But you have like a localized PEMF device, and you bang yourself somewhere and you have pain here. You can use your PEMF device. You're not home temporarily. Then when you get home at night, then the healing will be facilitated. It's still going to be helpful.
No, good. I think that clears that up, and the differences between the two. So
Yeah.
hearing it from, expert in the field is always helps. So there's also something that we found in the grounding communities that imply that grounding protects against modern EMF exposure. Is there any truth in that?
Yes, and it's a complex subject. Mm-hmm. So yes, so I'm going to try to break it into simple. I'm going to separate that in two types of EMF. The high frequency EMF, very high frequency EMF, like microwave, cell phone, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. All of those are very high frequencies, and so earthing does not protect against those in the sense that they're not penetrating your body. They move too fast. The body is not able to deal with them, and so they go inside. However, when you go back to your bed and you sleep at night, the repair mechanisms will help heal faster if there's some damage. So that's for the high frequency ones. Mm-hmm. The low frequency ones, like the one at the 60 at 50 hertz, when you are grounded, these are the ones who are reflected. And it can go all the way up to 100 kilohertz. So the body is able to reflect a lot of them, okay? Including what they call dirty electricity, does not penetrate the body, okay? So that's another topic there. We'll talk about that maybe later. But the lower ones are if you're protected against the PEMF that you have in the house that are due to the power lines and low frequency. Even if you have power surge inside the lines, which is what they call dirty electricity. There's a research paper done by Polish doctors that shows that this does not penetrate the body.
Mm-hmm. No, good. Okay. So, seeing grounding in the future, do you see grounding being used in mainstream medicine? And if so, how do you think that's actually going to be integrated?
So, yes, I see definitely that every patient in hospital needs to be grounded. Like, it's already there. You see, all the hospitals, big hospitals, they already have a special grounding system. Because when the surgeon, does an operation on open heart surgery on the patient, they have to be grounded because any spark, can damage the heart, any electrical energy that is given to the heart and not appropriately can. So they have the system already, and they already ground the people. So the doctor and the patients, when they know it's necessary. What we're saying is that it's necessary for everybody. For example, there is a research project that was done at Penn State Hospital, on preemies. These are little babies who are in incubators, They are premature babies. One of the problems they have is these little babies. They die of a problem that's called necrolysis enterolitis, which is kind of like a long name. But in short, it means that the intestine of these little baby dies. So that baby dies. So what was found is that a research was done. You're grounding because these incubators. There's a lot of EMF there, and you can see in the paper. It's like almost like being inside a microwave oven. Not that bad, but very close. Their spook babies are in. So when we ground them, they found out that it helps them survive. So lots of them don't die and they survive. And the research project was there. The hospital already had a very good, they just had the grounding system that is used for operating rooms. They got really good results, and the papers was published. And then after that, the nurse moved to another place. Nothing happens. The baby are still not grounded. And yet we know then we can save a lot of them. So what happens to all of those patients, who are not grounded also in the hospital? There's an EMF all over in the hospitals too. So we've envisioned a day where all patients in hospitals will be grounded. All homes will have carpet that are grounding you. It's easy to do. We already have the technology. We can make the carpet that just has the same texture of the carpet that you have now, but they're grounding you. You see? So it's a matter of will and awareness. People saying we want this. Maybe one day there will be a company who will start grounding carpets. People will rush to that, and then most of the other company will say, well, we have to do it too because we're losing the market. So we're pushing, we're keeping going until the awareness is there where people say, we want this. We can live like this. Even the tire of the cars, the rubber that they make there, they can put carbon fibers in there and make them. And the road, instead of using asphalt, which is a petroleum-based thing, they can use cement, which will. So you have a car with tires that are carbon fibers on a concrete street, and it's grounding. It's going to work.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. Just want to wrap this up by talking to you about your courses, because if anyone's listening to this episode and they want to take a bit of a deeper dive, they might want to take the course. So you do that at the Earthing Institute website.
Yes.
What do these courses contain, and who are they really designed for?
Yes. So level 1 is designed for everybody. We gotta give answers to basic questions like we've done here. And we also go into products, how to use them properly, so that people who have the level 1 can go and say, okay, I know how now to use my grounding product properly, and what the basics of what grounded does for me. So that's level 1 is for everybody. Then level 2 is for people who wants to go deeper, especially into the physiology and biology of earthing and what happens there. Level 3 is even more advanced stuff that we go deeper into the biology, but also into the biophysics of the how the Earth is a battery, and how the energy and electrons are stored into the body. So I would recommend the first level for everybody, and those who want to be work in the health sciences and want to have clients and help their clients. And these are the people actually who pushed us, saying we need those. That would be really good, so that they can show to their patients that they have a good knowledge on the earthing, and they can explain things to their people. So they have these certifications. So we have certification for level 2 and level 3, and we're planning, but it's not there, some kind of a forum for people who have gone to the level 3 and wants share their experience and go deeper into how to use them to help the people.
Excellent.
And it's not very inexpensive. We charge almost nothing, very small, $49 US for a course.
No, so it's very cost effective. If people want to find you, is it best to contact you through the Earthing Institute website, or is there other methods of contacting you?
Earthing Institute website, the page there, the contact page. That's the best way to reach me.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge today. And for the listeners, thanks for listening to today's episode. If you've enjoyed it, please subscribe. Please leave us a 5-star review on your favorite streaming platforms, because it really does help us bring more great guests like Dr. Gaétan Chevalier to share all of their knowledge with you on grounding. So thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you.